The door just slammed and it shattered the last bit of silence in our house. I said, "Out!" My mother screamed, but she wasn't looking at me. She was looking at the trophy case she had built for me, the one that was currently being emptied to make room for her medals. My name is May, and for the last 17 years, I was the only person in the world who mattered to my mother, Dr. Elena. She wasn't just a mom, she was a sculptor, and I was her marble. Every 4.0 GPA, every first chair violin solo, every debate championship was a chip of the chisel. I thought she loved me, but I realized too late that she only loved the shape of me, or what she had shaped me into. But marble can break. When I finally cracked under the pressure of her perfect expectations, she didn't try to glue the pieces back together. She just went out and found a better piece of stone. Her name was Barbara, and this is how she didn't just take my room or my grades or my mother's hat, she took my entire life. This story starts with the sound of a violin string snapping. It was the winter showcase. My fingers were bleeding, literally dripping into the wood of my $10,000 instrument. I was playing Paganini's Caprice number 24. It's a monster of a piece if you're into violin. In the front row, my mother sat like a statue. She had no smile and there was no pride on her face, just a stopwatch in her hand, timing my tempo. Then, all of a sudden, it happened. My wrist seized. A sharp lightning bolt of pain shot through my carpal tunnel. The bow slipped. The string snapped with a sound like a gunshot and the auditorium went silent. 1,000 people were staring at me. I was so embarrassed and in a lot of pain. I looked at my mother, but her face didn't show any concern. It showed disgust. She didn't even stay to see if I was okay. She just stood up, draped her trench coat over her arm and walked out while I was still standing on stage clutching my bleeding hand. When I got home that night, crying and shaking, she was sitting in the kitchen with a glass of red wine and a stack of applications. "The injury is permanent, May," she said, her voice like dry ice. "The doctor called nerve damage. You will never play at the professional level again. You are a broken investment." "I'm your daughter," I sobbed. "You were a masterpiece," she corrected. "Now you are just a girl who couldn't handle the heat. Don't worry, I've already found a way to fix the void." I thought she meant a new hobby. I didn't realize she actually meant a new person. 2 weeks later, I came home from physical therapy to find a girl sitting at our dining table. She was wearing my favorite oversized sweater, the one my grandmother gave me before she died. She had my hair color and she also had my height. She even had the same mole on her left cheek, but her eyes were very different. They were cold, hungry, and dangerously sharp. "May, this is Barbara," my mother said, not looking up from her textbook. "She's the top of my advanced chemistry class. Her parents, well, they didn't appreciate her genius. I've decided to mentor her. She'll be living in the guest room." "Mentor her?" I asked, my voice trembling. She was wearing my clothes. Barbara looked at me and smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was a smile of a shark that just found the wounded seal. "I'm so sorry, May. Dr. Vance said you weren't using these anymore since, you gave up." Within a month, mentoring turned into replacing. My mother stopped asking about my physical therapy. She even stopped making my favorite breakfast. Instead, she spent every waking hour in the study with Barbara. I would walk past the door and hear them laughing. It's something my mother never shared with me. They were talking about molecular structures, about Ivy League applications, about the future that used to be mine. Then came the first gray area choice. I found Barbara's private journal in the guest room. I wasn't looking for it, but it was just sitting there. I read the first page and my blood actually ran cold. Barbara wasn't some poor, neglected genius. She was a runaway with a record for academic fraud. She had been expelled from 3 different prep schools for stealing identities and cheating her way into scholarships. I had the power to end it right then. I could have shown my mother the truth, but then I looked happy at my mother's face as she had Barbara after a practice test. My mother looked really happy. If I told her, I'll be the jealous, broken daughter trying to ruin her new project. If I stayed silent, I was letting a snake live in our house. I chose to stay silent. I wanted to see how far Barbara would go. I wanted to see if my mother would actually choose the stranger over her own blood. It escalated during my 18th birthday dinner. My mother didn't even buy a cake. She bought a congratulations banner for Barbara, who had just been accepted into my dream university, the one I could no longer attend because my grades had slipped during my depression. We have an announcement to make, my mother said, clinking her glass. I looked at the steak on my plate. I couldn't eat it. Since May is taking a gap year to find herself, my mother said, the sarcasm dripping like venom. I've decided to officially sponsor Barbara here. I'm transferring May's college funds to Barbara's tuition. It's only fair. Why waste a world-class education on someone who isn't going to use it? That fund was money my father had left me before he died. That's my father's money, I screamed, standing up so fast my chair flipped. Barbara looked down, acting like she was crying. I'm sorry, Maya. I told Dr. Vance I couldn't take it, but she insisted. She says I'm the daughter she was always wanted to have. My mother didn't flinch. Sit, Maya. You're being dramatic. Barbara is everything you feel to be. She's disciplined, she's resilient, and she's just perfect. That was the night I realized I wasn't just being replaced, I was being erased. I started noticing things missing from my room. My baby photos were gone from the hallway, replaced by photos of my mother and Barbara at science fairs. My school records were misplaced by my mother, who was the head of the department. Barbara started calling my mother Mom, and my mother didn't even stop her. I decided to fight back. I didn't go to the police station. I didn't go to the school board. I went to Barbara's old life. I tracked down the school she was expelled from, and I found the girl whose identity Barbara had stolen. Her name was actually Sarah, and she was a shell of a person. Barbara hadn't just cheated, she had framed Sarah for a crime that ruined her family's reputation. But as I talked to Sarah, I realized something horrifying. Barbara wasn't working alone. The teacher helped her. Sarah whispered, a woman named Dr. Vance. She was a guest lecturer at our school. She saw Barbara's potential and told her that if she could clear the path, she would have a place for her. The world stopped. My mother didn't just find Barbara, she created her. She had scouted a girl who was willing to be a monster because I wasn't monster enough for her ambitions. My mother didn't want a daughter, she wanted a legacy, and she didn't care if she had to burn me to the ground to get it. I went home that day, my heart a piece of charcoal. I walked into the study where they were celebrating. I know, I said, my voice dead. My mother turned around, her eyes narrowed. You know what, May? I know you scouted her. I know you helped her frame Sarah. I know you are using my father's money to fund a criminal. Barbara smirked. She didn't even pretend to be nice anymore. She leaned back in my mother's chair. So what's me? Who are they going to believe? The broken violinist who is suffering from a mental breakdown, or the brilliant student and the respected doctor? My mother stepped forward. You've always been your own worst enemy, May. You couldn't handle the pressure, so you've made up this fantasy to explain your failure. Tomorrow, you're moving out. I've arranged a small apartment for you. It's time you lived a life suited to your limited abilities. This is where I had a choice. I could leave and try to rebuild my life, or I could be the monster my mother always wanted me to be. I chose the monster. I did not expose them. Well, not yet. Instead, I hacked into my mother's professional server. I knew she was working on a groundbreaking research paper that would secure her tenure for life. It was her magnum opus. Barbara had been doing the data entry for it. I didn't delete the paper. I just changed the formulas, just slightly, enough so that the results looked miraculous, but were actually scientifically impossible. I knew Barbara wouldn't check the math. She was too arrogant, and I knew my mother trusted Barbara blindly now. I watched for months as they prepared to publish. I watched them toast to their success. I even helped them pack the car for the big symposium. I was the good daughter again, playing my part. The day of the symposium, the entire scientific community was there. My mother stood on the stage, Barbara by her side like a proud apprentice. This research, my mother announced, would not have been possible without my brilliant Barbara, who is more like a daughter to me than anyone I've ever known. I stood in the back of the room. I hit send on an anonymous email to every board member and journalist in the room. The email didn't contain Barbara's criminal record. It actually contained the proof that the data and the presentation was fake. It showed that Dr. Elena Vance, the woman of integrity, had published fraudulent science. There were gasps everywhere. In an instant, my mother's career was over. The police were called for the fraud. The university stripped her of her titles. And because Barbara's name was on the paper as a co-author, her perfect future evaporated in seconds. I walked out of the auditorium as my mother was being escorted to a back room by the board of directors. She saw me in the hallway. "May," she screamed, "what have you done? My life is ruined." I looked at her. I didn't feel sad and I didn't feel happy either. I just felt nothing. "No, Mom," I said quietly. "You said you wanted a masterpiece. I just gave you one. It's called The Fall." "You ruined yourself too," she hissed. "You ruined yourself too," she hissed. "Nobody will ever trust our name again." "I don't have your name anymore," I told her. "I changed this morning. I'm May Smith now. And as for the college fund, since it was tied to Barbara's fraudulent admission, I've already filed the paperwork to reclaim it as the rightful heir." Barbara was sitting on the floor crying, realizing that she was going back to the life she ran away from. She looked at me, begging for help. I just walked past her. Some people say I was wrong. They say I should have saved my mother's career and just exposed Barbara. They say I was cruel for destroying my own mother's life work. But she didn't see me as a human being. She only saw me as a tool. And when a tool is no longer useful, you don't keep it in the house. I'm living in a small city now. My hand still hurts, by the way, when it rains, and I will never play the violin again. But every morning, I wake up and I don't see a sculptor in the mirror. I just see a normal girl, a girl who is perfectly, beautifully broken. Tell me, what do you think? Do you think I overdid it by exposing my mother? Should I have just exposed Barbara instead?